Can all budget member, committee members please come to the budget room? Okay, we do have quorum. We are missing one councillor. If Councillor Layton is around, we are starting the meeting. I do know he has some motions he wants to move, but so why don't we begin with motions?
The first thing we should do is defer the.
Oh.
Defer the.
Yeah, I'd like to, clerks has just handed me a motion that consideration of the item be deferred until the January 28th, 2020 meeting of the Budget Committee. Just a technical motion on the property tax. That's number one. All in favor? We're just deferring the number one to the 28th meeting. Opposed? That's carried. Okay, so I might as well start with, first of all, I just want to, I know we've acknowledged the incredible effort and time that the hundreds of staff members all across the agencies and divisions have put into this budget. We've just finished their requests and all of their presentations, so I just want to thank everybody all across the system for the work that they've done in preparing the budgets. So right now we're going to just go through, the last thing we're going to be doing is just budget briefing note requests and voting on them. I will start, if that's okay with the members, and then we'll just go individually to each councillor who has motions. I believe they've all been handed out. So if we just start with mine, I guess, and you all have them in front of you. So motion A for children's service. No, I'm not, okay. There we go. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Motion B for shelter support and housing administration. I'm not going to read all of them just to make sure we can get through them quickly, but if there's any questions, just put up your hand. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Motion C for the housing secretariat. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Toronto Transit Commission, motion D. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Motion E.
Can I just ask a process question? Because we're not making it clear the the timing of when these have to be back by. Does all the work have to be done by wrap-up, or
Yes.
should I just assume councillors have had a conversation?
Yeah, so no, thank you for the question. These will all be back and ready for first wrap-up.
First wrap-up?
First wrap-up, yeah. Actually, let me
So
correct,
there's one or two
sometimes,
here that can't be.
you're right,
That's okay.
sometimes the goal will be try to get everything to first wrap-up. In the event that they can't, it'll be
Okay,
happening on the
it's a
second
goal,
wrap-up.
and they'll just tell us you'll have it by X. if
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not. Okay, that's fair, that's fair.
Okay.
Yeah, because I stopped here, all new services capacities over the last 5 years. If they want to put in detail, they might need a little past that wrap.
Most of,
Preparing the capital plan for our meeting too.
we have spoken with staff on almost all of these motions, and they've looked at them saying that they can actually achieve them.
Okay, cool, okay.
So motion D, all in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Motion E for the transportation services on Vision Zero. All in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Motion F for the Toronto Paramedic Services. All in
Yeah.
favor? Opposed, that's carried. Motion G, financial planning. All in favor? Oh, sorry, it's right in front of you. All in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Motion H, engineering and construction services. All in favor? Opposed, that's carried. SDF&A, which is motion I.
Wait, hang on a sec. Oh, found it.
That's the total investment on poverty reduction over the last 5 years. Motion J for the Toronto Public Library. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Motion K, Toronto Community Housing Corporation. Oh, let's get it up on, this is K. There we are, it's up on the screen. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Who wants to go next? Why don't we start with Council Bradford?
I'd like to move a motion. We can get it on the screen. Thanks very much. We're just looking to get some answers on the MLTT piece. We raised this last year, and would just like to understand what the impacts and opportunities would be moving forward with that, and looking at bumping up both the percentage and the bands at both the $3 million mark and $4 million mark.
All in favor?
There's a report due on this anyway.
Opposed? That's carried. Okay, Council Carroll, just go around the room. You want to do?
Oh, okay. Okay, starting with A. Municipal license standards, that the ED municipal license standards request a budget briefing note on the deployment model for enforcement officers on a geographic basis and by specialist areas of enforcement. That means the proposed one in the budget. And there was a little confusion about that. This other one is local.
So why don't we, well, let's, do you want to vote? We'll vote on, do you want to do them all individually?
You can move them all. then.
Okay, move them all, then we'll vote on them.
Yeah. My motion B, the PF&R one, is about a local concern. It is already underway. I understand from email. I discussed it with Mr. Ubbins and Ms. Nasser. So they're prepared to do it. That the GM Parks, Forestry and Recreation provide a budget briefing note on advancing a capital plan for the replacement of the Newton Brook Bridge, as well as a timeline for expediting the project and identification of funding sources, including potential use of the Ward 17 above 5% parkland funds. SDF&A, that the ED SDF&A provide a budget briefing note on the following: an item-by-item breakdown of the Toronto Youth Equity Strategy, including the specific funding allocation breakdown towards the youth equity strategy in the 2020 budget, and a further breakdown of program-specific funding investments, a list of action steps from the July 2018 immediate steps to reduce gun violence report that are unfunded, and a breakdown of the 11 positions that have been deleted from SDF&A. I understand that's already written.
And been answered.
And I think that's it for me. Yeah, I pulled the rest because we really got those answers. Yeah, some of the ones on this motion have been answered, but they keep popping up in hallway conversations, so no counselor will be able to say they don't already know where the 11 positions are, that they weren't humans. Yeah. It'll be on a briefing note.
Okay, thank you
Yeah.
very much, Council. So let's begin with the first one, motion A. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Motion B, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Motion C, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Council McKelvey, do you want to go next, or I'm just looking at my pile here?
Motion A, city manager gives a budget briefing note on the investments related to resilience. So we have amongst all these different departments, so this is getting that sum total across the board. Motion B is for transportation services to give a briefing note on Vision Zero by each of the 4 community areas. Motion C is for economic development to give a breakdown by sector, example, film, manufacturing, green technology of proposed expenditures, and also give the distribution of program expenditures related to each of the community councils. And motion D is that the Toronto Transit Commission provides a briefing note on the breakdown of the $2.9 billion in vehicles by type and importantly by fuel source. So if we're going to be investing in new vehicles that have a long life, we want them to meet with our net zero goals for 2050.
Okay. Oh, let's start with motion A. All in favor? Opposed? That's, oh,
Sorry.
Councilor
Can
Carroll,
I
do you have
just
a
ask
question?
can I just ask a couple of questions of, just a question of C and a question of D? Just a question of where we're going on dividing economic development up by community council areas, because we've had this motion in the past. It always looks bad because the core of economic development is in the city's core. So I'm just wondering what the intent of it is.
So the intent is to identify potential gaps, not necessarily this year, but maybe going forward. So for example, summer lishes and winter lishes right now, the majority are downtown. There's 2 in Scarborough. So how can we identify where there are gaps to go forward? I'm not intending to make any changes like on that basis, but I just want to identify if we're being, in Scarborough, we say that, you know, we have these long commutes downtown. How can we create jobs in Scarborough so we don't need to take these long commutes? So I just want to see if we're trending towards the right direction in that respect.
Please take some
Okay, I'll wait
filming
till it comes back.
out of the downtown core.
And in D, does that include the new vehicles, the dollar value, does that include the dollars on new vehicles that we're getting at TTC on the 27th?
Right, so the information we're getting on the 27th, bringing it forward as a budget brief to this committee.
Right.
But also specifically by fuel type, because for example, if we're buying in 2030 or 2035, we're planning to buy a whole bunch of diesel buses, that's not a great plan when they have a lifespan beyond 2050.
Right. So you're more focused on the type and fuel source than the breakdown for this year's expenditures.
Yeah, so the additional 2.9 that they brought forward today in their slide
Okay.
deck. Yeah.
I was just concerned because I haven't looked up the timing. I was just concerned with us getting the note and feeling we had to move motions on it before, as commissioners, we get to move motions on it.
Right, so we'll see it
Yeah.
on the 27th at TTC, but I wanted to come back to this forum.
I just haven't looked at my calendar. I don't know if it comes before or after.
TTC's first.
Okay, good. I couldn't remember. Thanks.
Okay, so let's try this again. Motion
Yeah.
A. Can we do it
Yeah,
as a
I'm good.
package?
I can do it as a
Good
package.
with that? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? That carries.
Yeah.
So that's all of them. Okay, Councillor Layton is next. We won't be doing these as a package, just to let you know. But it's not bad.
So A is on the provincial funding costs and downloading of costs to the city of childcare and what it would take to maintain our childcare growth strategy. B is to energy and environment on a breakdown in spending on climate emergency declaration related to target reductions in transportation and building emissions and a couple of other things. C is on fleet services, on our ability to improve our performance in maintenance of vehicles. D, from economic development, the detailed accounting for service changes in the operating budget and comparing them year over year on behalf of Councillor Wong Tam. E, on the Housing Secretariat. This is on a status update of the report on the vacant home tax and how it might be implemented. F is Parks, Forestry, and Recreation on the feasibility of advancing the proposed ravine strategy as in light of a couple of questions that we got today about how we might be able to pull it off. There's a second one here that's about the possibility of a donation matching program for tree planting. I've been approached by several prominent Toronto grandparents that want to raise money and have asked that if there was a matching program at the city, it would be desirable to do that. It posed some interesting budget questions because I don't think we've ever done something like that before. Because we have a reserve account, it actually might work out well, that it's money we would have been spending anyhow on tree planting, just maybe advance it with donations. I just thought a staff report, trying to see if that was possible. G, shelter and support and housing. This is on the resources allocated to housing and support, providing support of people in ravines and options for increasing support to these individuals and a couple of other things. H, to social development and finance. This is on the gross and net funding for the poverty reduction strategy year over year since its inception. Do we have another one on that? No, that was on gun violence, wasn't it?
I think we have a PRS one, well, for 5 years anyway.
So we gonna call it redundant? Yeah. Let's call it redundant. Oh wait, there are maybe more pieces there.
Let's.
Oh no, the Region Park Social Development Plan, and so I guess part two is
The answer from clerks was, because the briefing note requests, you can't make them redundant. I mean, it's the same.
Ooh,
Realize that, so.
But staff can.
didn't know about that.
Report.
Staff can consolidate. They're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to take pictures of these. We've got you like taking pictures though. So. Toronto Community Housing. This is motion I on a breakdown of utilities and other budget line on the budget and a ward by ward breakdown of where increased spending in the 2020 budget will be allocated. Toronto Police Services Board. That provide a budget briefing note on the list of 10 neighborhoods, including the expansion of the neighborhood offices program and the rationale for allocating the allocation of the 40 net new neighborhood officers across those 10 neighborhoods. Transportation services around, this is from Councillor Perks, on preparing a budget briefing note that shows how much funding would arise from an across the board 6.5% increase on monthly permit parking rates. That the general manager of transportation services provide a briefing note on the rationale for underspending the city cycling capital budget and pathways to address this in 2020 and projects that can accelerate Vision Zero implementation. M, municipal licensing and standards, that we are provided with a briefing note on the strategies and resources associated to handle the upcoming short-term rental leases, and 2, resources including additional staff positions that will provide improve initial response times and service standards for noise by law enforcement, off-leash dog enforcement, property standards, and illegal dumping. I just chose my staff to choose the 4 that we get calls about the most. I don't know, thought it might be interesting to see a higher service standard about that, or how we might achieve it. And the city manager provide a briefing note on the impact of provincial policy and funding changes on all impacted program and service areas, service levels, planned service improvements, and costs associated with the operation of these services. So this is trying to consolidate a list of all the provincial downloading and cuts. And otherwise, O, that the chief financial officer and treasurer provide budget briefing notes on the possible timeline of implementation of a Toronto commercial parking levy, including revenue potential and other considerations, including possible exclusions. And 2, a single document that shows all reserve funds with incoming and outgoing contributions, including a total reserve fund contribution in each direction. I think I may have just seen that. Stephen may have just showed me something. No, that was just for one.
No, this is.
The one with $100 left at the end of 2022. That the chief financial officer and treasurer provide briefing notes on the following. 1, an updated an update on the request from City Council on item EX 8.2 to report on the feasibility of exempting all operating and capital costs related to the accessibility of Ontario's with Disabilities Act compliance and accessibility initiatives for any 2020 proposed efficiency savings, and that the debt service level amount over the last 10 years. Don't ask me a question on that last one because I'm not sure exactly what that means. But I think that the chief financial officer does now.
I think we get it.
So, as a package,
No, we will, let's go through them one on one. We have some time here, time to kill.
okay.
So let's start with motion.
It's a sundown clause though, and this goes to O, so come on, Gary.
Okay, so no, we only recorded votes if asked for, right?
Okay, yes.
So motion A, all in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Motion B, all in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Motion C, all in favor?
What is this?
Fleet services.
Mike, can I have them recorded from here on in if we're not going to take them as a package? We took others as a package.
Okay, so you want all of
Yeah,
them
yeah.
recorded? Okay.
Or if there's some reason why we can't do them as a package, then there's some reason why I want them recorded.
Okay. So motion C, all in favor? Oh, sorry, you do that. Sorry.
Councillor Layton's motion C, all in favor. Councillor Carroll, Councillor Layton, all opposed. Councillor Crawford, Councillor Bradford, Councillor Nunziata, Councillor McKelvey, that loses.
What?
Okay, we'll just run through them. So I guess, yeah, they want them all recorded.
So on motion D, all in favor, Councillor Crawford, Councillor Bradford, Councillor Nunziata, Councillor McKelvey, Councillor Layton, Councillor Carroll.
Sorry, I'm just trying to answer
That
Councillor
carries.
Cressy, who's not really on maternity leave. He's been emailing me all day.
On motion E, all in favor, Councillor Crawford, Councillor Bradford, Councillor Carroll, Councillor Nunziata, Councillor McKelvey, Councillor Layton, that carries. On motion F, all in favor, Councillor Crawford, Councillor Bradford, Councillor Carroll, Councillor Nunziata, Councillor McKelvey, Councillor Layton, that carries unanimously. On F, all in favor, Councillor Crawford, Councillor Bradford, Councillor Carroll, Councillor Nunziata, Councillor McKelvey, Councillor Layton, that carries unanimously. On motion G, all in favor, Councillor Crawford, Councillor Bradford, Councillor Nunziata, Councillor McKelvey, Councillor Layton, all opposed. Can I have your vote, please, Councillor Carroll?
Sorry, yes.
Okay, that carries unanimously. On motion H, all in favor? All in favor on motion H? Councillor Carroll, Councillor Layton, all opposed. Councillor Crawford, Councillor Bradford, Councillor Nunziata, Councillor McKelvey, that does not carry. On motion I, all in favor? Councillor Crawford, Councillor Bradford, Councillor Carroll, Councillor Nunziata, Councillor McKelvey, Councillor Layton, that carries unanimously. On motion J, all in favor? Councillor Crawford, Councillor Bradford, Councillor Carroll, Councillor Nunziata, Councillor McKelvey, Councillor Layton, that carries unanimously. On motion K, all in favor? Councillor Crawford, Councillor Bradford, Councillor Carroll, Councillor Nunziata, Councillor McKelvey, Councillor Layton, that carries unanimously. On motion L, all in favor? Councillor Crawford, Councillor Bradford, Councillor Carroll, Councillor Nunziata, Councillor McKelvey, Councillor Layton, that carries unanimously. On motion M, all in favor? Councillor Carroll, Councillor Layton, all opposed. Councillor Crawford, Councillor Bradford, Councillor Nunziata, Councillor McKelvey, that loses 4-2.
Wow.
On motion N, all in favor? Councillor Crawford, Councillor Bradford, Councillor Carroll, Councillor Nunziata, Councillor McKelvey, Councillor Layton, that carries unanimously. On motion O,
Can I have these separated, please?
sure. So on motion O, part 1, all in favor? Counselor Bradford, Counselor Carroll, Counselor Layton, all opposed. Counselor Crawford, Counselor Nunziata, Counselor McKelvey, that loses. And on part 2 of motion O, all in favor? Counselor Crawford, Counselor Bradford, Counselor Carroll, Counselor Nunziata, Counselor McKelvey, Counselor Layton, that carries unanimously. And on motion P, but,
Separate these two.
okay, so on motion P, part 1, all in favor? Counselor Crawford, Counselor Bradford, Counselor Carroll, Counselor Nunziata, Counselor McKelvey, Counselor Layton, that carries. On part 2 of motion P, all in favor? Counselor Carroll, all opposed. Counselor Crawford, Counselor Bradford, Counselor Nunziata, Counselor McKelvey, Counselor Layton, can I have your vote on? Okay, so that does not carry. The vote is 2-4. And then, so that is it. The only thing is to defer this item.
So I think a motion now to defer this item to the January 28th wrap-up meeting. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We are now in recess. We're adjourned.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
You check to make sure staff can write it or willing to write it, and then you move it. Why vote against them?
Oh,
At one point, I'm like, why can't I write with both hands?
See, not briefing notes. And I think that Gary had a motion about poverty reduction strategy. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll get covered anyway.
And then 2 and 3 are